In Team Fortress 2, there are many ways to play each class, and over the years, players have created all sorts of unique subclasses. Some are well known, like Demo Knight or the Battle Engineer, while others have faded into obscurity. But there's one subclass that has been almost completely forgotten by the community, despite having a playstyle that's both fun and surprisingly effective. Today, we're taking a look at the Thermal Thruster, and the playstyle which it enables. The Thermal Thruster is one of the newest weapons in Team Fortress 2, introduced during the Jungle Inferno update alongside 3 other Pyro weapons. Unfortunately, 2 of them, being the Gas Passer and the Hot Hand, failed to make much of an impact, quickly gaining a reputation for being underwhelming. As a result, the Thermal Thruster was largely overlooked, and when people did remember it, they often dismissed it, viewing it as just another gimmicky addition. But that reputation isn't entirely fair. While the Thermal Thruster might not deal any damage or offer any direct combat advantages, it opens up a whole new way to play Pyro, with the ability to reposition quickly, access high ground, and pull off unexpected flanks. This jetpack enables a playstyle that no other Pyro secondary can. Instead of being a forgettable gimmick, it's actually a powerful tool if you know how to use it. Pyro has 2 main weaknesses, a lack of long-range damage options and limited mobility. These 2 factors are what hold Pyro back compared to the other classes, making it harder to close the gap between enemies and limiting their ability to reposition quickly. While Pyro excels in close quarters combat, these weaknesses often leave them struggling against more versatile opponents. Pyro is able to make up for this through unlocks, particularly with the flare guns, allowing you to deal high damage at longer ranges. Similarly, the Power Jack provides a way to boost your mobility, giving you a temporary speed boost while the weapon is held. However, the flare guns still require precise aim, and the Power Jack speed boost is only while it's being held, making it not useful for you to approach enemies. Pyro does have a movement option with the detonator, allowing for explosive jumps to reach higher grounds or to cross gaps. However, this comes at a steep cost, with each jump dealing high self-damage, cutting into Pyro's already limited health pool. On top of that, the distance covered isn't significant, making it more of a situational tool rather than a reliable mobility option. The Thermal Thruster is pure mobility. Rather than trying to compete with long-ranged options, the Thermal Thruster offers a different solution, closing the gap entirely. Instead of relying on projectiles to reach the enemies, Pyro can use the jetpack to get right in their face, where they're most dangerous. Unlike the detonator, the Thermal Thruster doesn't drain a chunk of Pyro's HP every time it's used, allowing for repeated jumps without any risk of self-damage. And unlike the Power Jack, which offers a small speed boost and the cost of damage vulnerability, the Thermal Thruster offers a short but powerful burst of vertical mobility. This lets Pyro reposition quickly without needing to keep a risky melee weapon out, making it a much safer and more flexible movement tool. This opens up an entirely new playstyle, a dive character. With the Thermal Thruster, Pyro can launch himself towards a single enemy or a small group, quickly closing the gap before their target has time to react. Then, once the job is done, or the situation becomes too risky, the second charge allows for a quick escape. That's right, the Thermal Thruster comes with 2 charges. This means Pyro isn't committed to a single jump with no way out. The first charge can be used to dive into the enemy fight, and the second can be saved for a quick getaway or repositioning. This adds flexibility, making the Thermal Thruster way more versatile than it may seem at first, allowing Pyro to stay unpredictable and control the space of engagement. And on top of that, it recharges surprisingly fast, only 15 seconds per charge. This makes it a strong option for rollouts on those maps that take far too long to reach the front lines. Since you would usually use the Power Jack for this, it also frees up the melee slot entirely. You're no longer reliant on the Power Jack for speed. This opens the door for lesser used melee weapons to shine, like the Back Scratcher, giving Pyro even more versatility in their loadout choices. So all that's left to do is find an enemy, jump on them, take them out, and jump away. Here we go! Wait, What? As fun as it sounds, diving straight into enemies isn't always the best idea. While the thermal thruster gives Pyro great mobility, jumping directly at an aware enemy can leave you vulnerable. Without careful positioning and timing, you might find yourself landing right into a shotgun blast or a revved up heavy. Using the thruster effectively means knowing when to engage and when to wait for the perfect moment to strike. What you need to do is flank. Instead of launching yourself directly into an enemy's line of fire, use the thruster to take unexpected routes, landing behind or above your targets where they least expect it. Pyro is already a class that thrives on catching enemies off guard, and the thruster takes that to the next level. By approaching from angles that aren't usually possible, you can avoid direct confrontations and set up devastating ambushes. Wait a minute. Flanking? Ambushing? Behind your enemies? That's right, backshot time. With the thermal thruster you can land directly behind unsuspecting enemies and set them up for the perfect ambush. You know what that means? Backburner crits. With the thruster's mobility it makes it easier to get behind enemies in order to make use of these critical hits. Here, check this out. Spot a group of enemies, completely unaware. Perfect target. And boom! Instant meltdown, and never saw it coming. And just like that, I'm gone. No damage taken, no chance for them to fight back. Beautiful. This is exactly why the backburner pairs so perfectly with the thermal thruster. The whole point of the backburner is rewarding you for catching enemies off guard, and what better way to do that than literally dropping behind them from the sky. With guaranteed critical hits from behind, you don't need to worry about air blasting or setting up combos. Just land, burn, and watch them disappear. Compared to the stock flamethrower, which relies more on air blast utility, or the degreaser, which is all about quick switching, the backburner thrives on pure positioning. And with the thruster, you can position yourself wherever you want. It turns Pyro into a real ambush predator. If you can land in the right spot, you can wipe out entire groups before they even have time to react. So, let's look at some other stats on the thermal thruster. One of its biggest drawbacks is its longer deploy speed. When you switch to the jetpack, there's a noticeable delay before you can actually use it, making it hard to rely on for fast, reactive movement. If you suddenly need to escape or reposition, that delay can be the difference between making a clean getaway and getting shredded before you can even take off. But that's where the degreaser comes in. With its faster weapon switch speed, the degreaser removes this issue, letting you swap to the thruster much more quickly. This makes it so you can go from burning enemies to jumping away in an instant, making the thermal thruster feel way more fluid and responsive. It turns what would normally be a clunky movement tool into something much more practical for combat. However, this now comes with a new issue: actually taking down the enemies. The degreaser's faster weapon switch speed is great, but it comes at the cost of the lower afterburn damage. This means that if you're relying on burning enemies down over time, you're going to struggle to secure kills as quickly. But wait! The extinguisher! This weapon completely fixes that problem. With the thermal thruster you can jump into the fight, light enemies up with the degreaser, and then instantly finish them off with a well-timed extinguisher. It's a ridiculously strong combo, fast, deadly, and incredibly satisfying to pull off. Instead of relying on just flames, you're using the thruster's mobility to get close, applying fire, and then BAM! One swing, fight over. This is yet another playstyle which the thermal thruster allows. Instead of just diving in and hoping flames do enough damage, this setup turns you into a true assassin. You're not committed to long-term fights, you're jumping in, lighting someone up, landing a devastating hit, and then escaping before anyone else can react. It's fast, it's brutal, and it makes Pyro feel like a completely different class. But there's another stat the thruster includes: a stomp. Similar to the Mantras, the thermal thruster deals damage on impact when you're landing on an enemy's head. It's not massive, but it encourages you to land directly on top of people rather than near them. Now, if you're landing on people's heads... Wait a minute. No. 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 No! The Phlogistinator. This is where things get insane. Normally, activating the Phlog leaves you completely vulnerable during the taunt, making it risky in the middle of a fight. With the Thermal Thruster, you can fall on top of someone's head and taunt while sitting on their head. What this enables you to do is a Phlog cancel. See, here's what happens. You jump towards the enemy with a thruster, you land directly on their head dealing stomp damage, you immediately taunt to activate the Phlog. And because you're standing on their head, you then fall off during the taunt. And you hit the ground and boom! Instant critical hits without needing the taunt. Not only this, but you still keep the 2 seconds of Ubercharge, meaning you're invincible with critical hits. Now this is a deadly combo. See, the enemy you just landed on? Already dead. The ones nearby? About to meet the same fate. It's a devastating way to end a fight, and there's nothing the enemy can really do about it. The issue with this comes with building up the imp meter. Since the Phlog requires fire damage to charge, you usually rely on your flare guns to help build it up, but since the Thermal Thruster takes up your secondary slot, you lose that option. This means you have to commit to close-range fights in order to build up your charge, making it riskier than the typical Phlog playstyle. You need to rely on map knowledge, flanking routes, and smart positioning to safely farm the meter before making your big play. But once it's charged, that's where the real chaos can begin. There are a few more stats that come with the thruster. It can extinguish teammates. Yes, for some reason, the Thermal Thruster can put out fire on your teammates. Now, real question is, why? Sure, it's a nice little bonus for saving your teammates in a pinch, but let's be real, you already have Air Blast to do this. So why does the jetpack have this ability? No idea. But you know what it does do? It helps you pair up with the Phlog even better. Since the Phlog does not have an Air Blast, you're unable to extinguish teammates. With the Thermal Thruster, you can make up for this downside. What else? Oh, and the Thermal Thruster has its own taunt kill. Check this out. Yeah, that's funny. And that's about all that I can say about that. It's not particularly useful in any way, but it's funny. The Thermal Thruster may have some quirks, but when used right, it brings a completely unique playstyle to the table. It turns Pyro into a mobile powerhouse, perfect for flanking, diving, and ambushing unsuspecting enemies. With its combos like the Backburner and the Extinguisher, you can strike fast and hit hard, then bounce away, leaving chaos in your wake. So don't sleep on the Thermal Thruster. Try it out. Experiment. You might just find a whole new way to burn your enemies into oblivion. Did I get anything wrong? Disagree with my opinions? Think I missed something? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video or found it interesting, consider giving it a like, sharing it, and possibly even subscribing. And thank you for getting to the end.